Hello, hola, guten tag, nin hao, konnichiwa. That's hello in all the different languages where New Dad has viewers, and we want to welcome everyone, both near and far, to Season 2, Episode 1. We'll get you there in a quick second. First, happy 420 if you happen to be listening to this on the day it drops. And a little bit about today's guest, the ugliest and dumbest guest we've ever had. I'll say that. I'm not going to say a lot more. I think that is enough of a teaser. But sometimes villains make for sensational content, right? Some of our favorite TV, movie characters, book characters. Maybe we have a couple of villains in there. Maybe every now and then we fantasize about being a villain. Do you know who fantasizes about being a villain a lot? My son Shep. Yeah, that's one of the developments in the last years. It's been over a year since New Dad's aired. Lots changed. Shep is now into some real creepy shit. Yeah, Huggy Wuggies and Poppy Playtime, Siren Heads, yeah, Piggies. I don't know if you guys know about this shit yet. If you have a 3-year-old, I hope not. Soon to be 4, he's a mature 3-year-old. But yeah, Solo wasn't even 1 the last time we aired an episode of New Dad. That's crazy to think about. He's now not only walking, he's talking. Him and Shep are interacting, which is really cool. They're playing, mostly fighting over toys, but sometimes playing. And it's been really cool to see. The last time New Dad aired, my mom was still alive. So that's crazy to think about too. So we talk about all of this stuff in this episode, get you caught up to date with this horrible guest. You're going to have to listen to Prop Cause, and it's, I think, one of the best intro songs in the game. I really do. I forgot how good this song is. Was listening to it while I edited. This is a fucking banger. It really is. So, Prop Cause, take us away. Without further ado, here we go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. It's your favorite uncle, Uncle Tickles. We're here to kick off Season 2, Episode 1 of New Dad. We made it. I didn't think we would. There was a moment. I was nervous. Things were looking pretty hairy for your old friend Tickles over here, but got some new equipment. Maybe you noticed, new microphone. We got a new dock over there for the computer and the monitors, and everything seems to be running good. So thank you. Thank you for coming back for more of what no one asked for. Another season of New Dad. Excited to have you back. If you are watching this on YouTube, please do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. And also, if you haven't already, subscribe. We got lots of good content. And when the TMC podcast comes back, it'll get you all of our episodes that we have on YouTube. We do those live. And this is a good time to thank our listeners. If you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, thanks for coming back. Uncle Tickles appreciates all of his nieces and nephews, especially you. Make sure you are following the TKOK Podcast Network Facebook group as well, and the New Dad Instagram. That's at the New Dad Pod. So for any questions, comments, suggestions, or hate mail you want to send Uncle Tickles, you can send those to newdadpod@gmail.com. Let's get to the heart of what we're talking about today. This episode, we are going to update you on everything that's been happening in my life since Season 1 ended. There's been a lot. First and foremost, I think, if you know me, then you know two big things happened. I turned 40 this year, and my mom passed away. Both those things happened about within a week of each other, and we'll talk about those A little bit later in the podcast, we'll hit some brighter news, something a little bit more uplifting first. And if you're tuning in to New Dad, I assume you want to hear about me as a father and my kids. So, Shep and Solo developmentally, they're at those ages. They are 2 and 3 now. Shep will be 4 soon. And these are ages where a lot of times before you have a kid, you'll hear parents talk about their child's age in months. And it seems weird. It always was something that kind of annoyed me. But when you have kids, you start to realize why. And that's because every month developmentally, they're so different. And that's just, an undeniable fact of having children. And so they're in this age, where it's not happening as fast as when they're infants, but it is wild. So, I would assume that Solo wasn't walking, or if he was just starting now. He is climbing. He can get to every surface in the house. Uh, he's speaking more and more every day. And Shep is pretty much potty trained. He doesn't like he doesn't like taking shits in the toilet, which I think is pretty common for a lot of children and especially boys. He's now sleeping in a big boy bed. He is really for the first time showing me ways that you've kind of fucked up as a parent. When they're really young and you're doing all the stuff that you're doing for them, good and bad. It's hard to see how that is shaping them. He's almost 4 now, so you're starting to see, your impact on them, good and bad. And the good stuff is good, but you tend to focus, I guess, as a parent, or at least I do, on the not so good stuff. So, parenting for the first time personally has become challenging. It was not that it was ever easy, but I never really, until this last, 6, 7 months, even when, in those sleep deprived months, um, and we've talked about this in season 1 a lot. Personally, myself, I do well with very little sleep, so that wasn't as bad as the willful disobedience, the pushing of limits, the brattiness, which in large part is created in some hindsight through me. I'm the one they spend most of their time with. I'm certainly the type who gives in more than kind of putting my foot in the ground, drawing a line in the sand, and saying, here, we have limits, we have boundaries, and sticking to those. So I'm dealing with that, and it's tremendously challenging, as a lot of you can probably imagine. I think the comfort in all that is, I know that what I'm doing is, coming from a place of love. Certainly, looking at my own upbringing, I think, it's really easy to see also why, I'm probably overcompensating or giving more, than I should, quite honestly. So, these are the things that we're working on. The other thing that's become, a major challenge for me personally, as a parent, and again, probably something a lot of parents with multiple children can relate to, and something that maybe I was underestimating is how vastly different the 2 children are as individuals, and their needs are so vastly different. Which means in the course of a minute, I may have to, turn on my Shep brain and turn on my Solo brain, because what they need in these moments is totally different. It's exercising the different parts of my brain, different, um, yeah, emotional characteristics, different strengths and weaknesses, that I have as as a person or a personality. So it's beyond difficult in certain moments, and at other moments it's beyond gratifying. And I say sometimes it's the highest ceiling, lowest floor type job in the world. So uh, that's kind of where we're at. For it's he's almost in school, which is kind of crazy. Um, it's a wild thing to think about, and so Solo is, really at an age where you're starting to see him develop his personality. That personality, I find, very humorous, and I always wanted Shep growing up, and I think I've talked about this in season 1, to have the nickname the Laughing Storm, and I just found that it wasn't fitting. He wasn't a laughing storm. He was a very happy child, but the storm part didn't fit. And, I was maybe trying to force it at times and I just gave it up. When Solo came into this world, it wasn't maybe apparent right away, but pretty quickly, I think I found my laughing storm, and that personality just gets stronger and stronger each day. And like I think it's another one of those cases where I'm gonna have to watch, maybe in the future what I wish for, because I think I got it. I think I got my laughing storm. Shep will be 4 in June, so that's just 2 months away. It's just wild for me to think about again. Um, so with the thought of him going to school, another thing that's new with us is we are looking to move. So uh, basically, right now it's been a bunch of hit and misses. Um, where we put some offers in, we haven't got those. The market's, if you're out there looking for a house, especially in the Chicagoland area, we don't have to tell you. It's very competitive. There's not a lot of inventory. And why do I bring this up? It's just, moving is a stressor. Most people understand that. I've seen it listed, along with, a death and divorce, in terms of, how much people dread these things. I don't dread moves that much, but it also is, there's a lot up in the air because um, we'd like to get him into a school. We'd like to get me back to work. We'd like to get Solo into daycare. And for the longest time, we've been kind of dragging our feet to do these things, thinking that we would have found a place by then. Um, and now suddenly, we're in a situation where we might have to uproot the kids, get them enrolled, in something and then pull them out. And that's obviously not ideal as a parent. It's what we're trying to avoid. So that's, on the back of our minds. And that's something that, maybe potentially the podcast studio here will look a little bit different. Um, but, it's something that is ongoing. And hopefully we find something soon. And that brings me to the point of, having to think of, what to do next professionally. I've been a stay-at-home dad for the last 2, 3 years, and it's something, I've enjoyed immensely. It's something I always wanted to do, and I'm glad I've gotten the opportunity to do it. I consider myself beyond lucky to have had this opportunity, and I can't imagine. It's like there's a part of me that can't imagine going back to work right now because, it just, as I said, the highs with being a stay-at-home parent are so high. Um, but, I also see how I am lacking, in big ways, um, what a job for myself provides. And a lot of that is, not just the socialization, which is, I think, a big component of it, speaking and interacting with other adults versus, just your two toddler children. But also there's a sense of regimen that, comes along with that. And certainly there is, a routine and a regimen that we have here, but it's not my strong point, it certainly has never been. And, if you listen to season one, I think probably not a surprise, right? We had these progress reports, and in large part, those were built around this idea that I was trying to build better habits, and I was trying to, essentially have, um, you know, a healthier schedule and, something that I was happier with. And a lot of that comes from just habit building and habit forming, routine and regimen. And that's something I've never dealt with, or I've never been very good with. I can, do it for a couple weeks and then, kind of fall back into my old ways. And, that's kind of still the way it is. I'm sad to admit that, but I'm still struggling with those things. So, um, this don't want this update to be a bummer. Just being real with y'all. I'm not a perfect human being. I struggle with certain things too, and this is one of those. So I'm trying, I was doing really well before a vacation here, hitting the treadmill downstairs in our basement, a couple times a week. And re, you know, part of it was just I wanted to read more. I wanted to exercise more, wanted to spend more time on the podcast and creative endeavors. And, I was, again, doing it for about 3 or 4 weeks and then have gotten off that. So hopefully we'll get back into that. Hopefully this podcast will give me some more accountability. But, I mentioned that vacation. Here's a bright note, right? I have been able to, now that the debatable to say this, now that the pandemic seems to be nearing an end, have felt more comfortable traveling. So, these are some of the bright spots and what's happened. I got to see some friends in Asheville earlier in 2021. That was Aziz and Ashea from History of Westeros, and Scott Wortman, who's one of the mods over for the podcast. Went to San Diego as well. Got to see my college roommate. Got to go to Jamaica with my wife and some of her friends for a wedding. All these vacations were very much needed at the time. Upcoming, we have Ice and Fire Con. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, 420, by the way, happy 420, light them and smoke them if you got them. If you're listening to this Wednesday, 420, Ice and Fire Con kicks off the next day, Thursday, the 21st. So I will be there vacationing and speaking for that event. Have 2 panels, one on Valyrian Steel and one on the significance of 7. So you've been putting together a lot of stuff, both for the panels and for different costumes, cosplay that I'm going to be wearing that weekend. Really exciting. Hopefully, episode 2, which is with the convention's organizer, Tara Lynn. We'll have some good pictures for you in the intro. Hit you with some of the highlights of the con. So really excited about that. And then Mexico in May, which should be, again, a lot of fun. So very grateful to be able to do that sort of traveling again. It's something that, makes me more grateful, to be totally honest. It makes me grateful for the house I have, the city I live in, a lot of this traveling, I get away from my kids. And so when I return, I'm more grateful for them, happier to, for that time that we have together. Just, don't take it for granted as much. And that is, that's a gift, it really is. Not to mention all those memories you make on the trips, which are also gifts. So hope you guys are all out there able to do a little bit of traveling and staying safe, of course, while we do it. That's my hope for you guys. And just looking through here. Oh, again, this is probably another, positive, right? These are uplifting parts or some uplifting moments that have happened. Concerts, got to see concerts again, and that was immensely, probably even bigger than traveling for me, to be totally honest, was just the ability to go see concerts again. Went to Lollapalooza and got to see Limp Bizkit, which was hilarious and awesome. Post Malone was the headliner. He put on an amazing show. Then, most importantly, probably the 3 bands that have been played most in my house and in my car, over this pandemic, were Indigo de Sueza, the Beth, and Beach Bunny, who I'm wearing one of their crew necks right now. And I got to see all 3 of those bands within like a 5-month span. Really, really cool. In fact, when I went to Asheville, I was supposed to see Indigo de Sueza, and the show was canceled due to COVID. So that was a big bummer, but again, got to see some good friends there. So no concerts on the horizon. Oh no, I take that back. We have Rage Against the Machine in July. So that's gonna be intense with Run the Jewels too. So talk about a show. So that's been really cool. just really love seeing music back. That might be the understatement of the year, and excited to go see some more shows. Whenever I can sit down and find the time to, map out, the next, bands I want to see. But it's hard. I just saw everyone. I kind of want to just go travel and travel around with Beach Bunny as they do their Southeast tour. So I might be coming to a city near you soon to see them. And if you hear of any new bands, send them my way. Again, newdadpod@gmail.com. I'm always looking for new music. So looking down here, I think we hit most of everything. A little bit of an idea of what to expect for season number 2. It's going to be more of the focus on other parents. I think I'm a little overwhelmed or maybe outmatched as an interviewer when I have too many people on. And sometimes just 2 guests at the same time can sometimes be too much for me. So, obviously no guest today. Next week, as I've already mentioned, we're going to be talking with Tara Lynn, and it's going to be our episode on step parents. So they recently became a step parent, and their story is pretty incredible, and just a pretty incredible person, to be totally honest. So hopefully you guys are excited for that. Then we're going to have an episode on single mothers with Caitlin Benz. She is both hilarious and just a amazing mother. So I think those 2 episodes, people better hold on to their britches because we're about to blast them off, and then that will be followed up with a very tough episode to create. But it's going to be a tribute to my mom, who, as I said, had passed away earlier this year. So it's probably a good segue to talk about her passing and how that's kind of affected me. And before we do, I just want to say that if you have, again, any suggestions as far as episodes you'd like to see, guests you'd like to see us interview, or guests that you really liked from last year that you'd like to see return, let us know. You can do that at the Facebook group, or again with that Gmail that I've mentioned a couple times. I'll do it one more time, newdadpod@gmail.com. Yeah, let us know. So on to my mom. We've talked a little bit about her in season 1. She had struggled with addiction and a lot of the health complications that come with that. And, she had this persona where it was a little bit like a cat with 9 lives. And there was also a little bit of the boy who cried wolf in there. And not that when she went to the hospital, she wasn't, or, she would say she was sick when she really wasn't. But I'm thinking, more so from the standpoint of when you have doctors telling you, hey, it's pretty serious. You guys should start, kind of getting her things in order. To have doctors say that to you and then see her, released from the hospital and go on to just her doing her normal thing. Which her normal thing, it's not like she was super active, she was pretty bedridden, didn't move around a whole lot. She was on oxygen, and she didn't take care of herself a whole bunch. But she was, one of the toughest individuals I've ever seen. And she loved her family, so much so that I think the combination of that unconditional love and that toughness kind of helped her beat what, a lot of people probably wouldn't have. And I think that kind of allowed us to always have this mindset that, she was always going to beat it. No matter how bad they said it was, she was always going to bounce back. And there was certainly a little bit of that for me this time. And I'm sure some of that's denial, and She got sick right around Thanksgiving, and she went in, and, you know, by early December, people were, when I say people, I mean family members were starting to say they thought it was different, and, uh, we started, it was like and this had happened before, where, not every time she'd go into the hospital, but probably, maybe 3 or 4 times that this had happened, where the doctors say that this is it. And, you start talking with your siblings and creating a schedule and trying to make sure people can be there as much as possible. And the whole time in the back of your mind, you're kind of thinking that, this is, you're kind of almost mad at her, to be totally honest, because you're kind of thinking, if this son of a bitch pulls through again, like, after putting us, you're being I was being selfish. I was thinking of it from the standpoint of what I was going through. And, and, I had a trip planned to San Diego, long before she got sick, and I knew that the day for my flight was coming up and she was getting worse. And I brought my kids out there, and, they got to see her, and I was torn. I didn't know what to do because I knew there was a chance that if I had left, that when I came back, she might not be there, and I didn't know what to do. I was torn. I was, I even eliminating what was going on with my mom at that moment. I was, I was burnt out as a parent in that moment too, which was, kind of a shitty, a shitty hand to be dealt at that moment, because I didn't have a ton of capacity to deal with what I was dealing with. And so I made the decision to get on that plane. And I was at the gate when my brother called and said she had passed away. And so I knew that there was a chance that was going to happen. I didn't know when. I knew that it could possibly happen. But I just felt that she would be there when I got back. I did. And so I missed that. And, I felt as though I was running away to San Diego when I went. And, I don't know. I felt also bad, just, I don't know, just felt bad in general. I felt like I'd let my family down a little bit. So, I'd spoken with all my siblings, of course, before making the decision, and, was basically begging for them to, tell me to go. And to their credit, they all told me to go. Everyone supported my decision. And, it's just something I'm going to have to, live with. And that was it was just a tough week, because earlier that week I turned 40, and I still feel pretty young as a dude. But it was just, it's a weird birthday. It's just like one of those ones that you just don't think it seems like it's forever in the horizon, and then all of a sudden you hit it. Just, I think with all the things going on, it just really puts your mortality and your place on this planet, in check. And I've talked about that a little bit in season 1, just how kids kind of put your mortality on the forefront of your brain. And so that was a tough week. That was a tough week, But here we are. It's now mid-April, and you know, I don't know. I want to say we're healing. I don't know. I don't know if I've actually faced or I've actually kind of dealt with any of the stuff that I need to deal with this. But she was an amazing lady. She was a frustrating woman, and they're complicated like all of us, right? But she'll be missed 100%. And probably said this at the beginning of the episode, but in the intro. But this whole season will be dedicated to her, and you know, I just hope that she'd be proud. So that is our update. Sorry to end it on a sad note, guys, but that's where we're at. That's what we've been up to. I want to keep this pretty short and sweet. Next week, 27th, we'll have Tara Lynn. We've already recorded that, so I'm interested to see if the audio, because that was recorded on our old mic, the audio sounds a lot better, a lot worse. Just know if there is a little difference in the sound, that was one we recorded a number of weeks ago, and it'll be airing on the 27th. So thank you for joining us today. It was great to get back in front of you all and kind of get back into the groove again. Hopefully I didn't bum you out too much. Hopefully I'm hoping now that I'm looking back, I'm like, well, maybe an intro, maybe we should have just had a fun little gathering with some of our old guests. But I wanted to, it feels like a personal thing, this podcast, at least to me it does. So I hope it does to you too as a listener. I want to thank everyone who reached out after my mom's passing. There were a lot of you. That certainly was a comfort for me and my family. So, I cannot say enough about that. And that's the most important thing, more important than this podcast or rating and reviewing and liking and the Instagram stuff. It's all you guys who reached out in a time of need and offered some kind words. Just know they were appreciated, they were heard, they were felt, and Uncle Tickles loves you. So thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week, and Prop Calls, take us home.